Hey everyone, it's Harry. I'm joined with Isabella representing the Badger, and today we are speaking with Rob from Don Broco. How are you doing?
Hello, yeah, very good, thank you.
Thank you very much for calling with us. We really appreciate it. And without further ado, we'll kick on with the questions. So I wanted to start off by addressing the band generally in terms of your sound. I've noticed you guys really put a focus on pushing the boundaries of rock music, and you're not defined by genre, which I really, really love. And I was wondering, what really inspires you to push your sound in this direction?
Good question, yeah. I think, I think it's a combination of things, really. It's kind of, creatively, I think it kind of comes from a place like, probably a place of boredom in some ways, because once we've kind of done an album cycle, and usually you're sort of you're writing an album. For us, it can be like a really long process because all four of us are quite passionate songwriters, so we can end up fighting over the direction a song takes quite I'd say quite fiercely, but we're also probably way too nice. So we're kind of very patient with each other, and we'll be like, oh, okay, we'll hear out that idea. And it means like a song can literally take a month to write because you're exploring every potential like sonic avenue the song can take. So, once you're done with that process and written the album, you're kind of, you're done with that zone. You wanted to obviously play it, and then you play it for a couple of years. And when it comes to writing that next thing, I don't think any of us feel like as soon as we start, writing a song that sounds like it could have been on the last record. It just doesn't feel right. It feels like, you want to be on the road playing something new. And there's obviously so many, infinite directions that you can take, even an individual song in an album. It just feels a shame to limit yourself to one, I think. And so, a combination of boredom from that side, a combination of, I think, us feeling like we want to evolve as a band and we want to keep pushing ourselves and, never resting and kind of resting on our laurels and getting that, I guess, creative itch scratched is like a big part of it. And I think as well, just, listening to, artists and bands we love, like all our favorites are those sort of artists that do grow as artists over the years and put out different sounding records and are sort of known really for, I guess, being an artist over being, say, a band in a genre. I think those are the artists that stand out to us, and those are the ones we keep coming back to and I guess like still love to this day. Sometimes you'll sort of fall in and out of love with an artist, and that's cool, but I hate the thought of being like almost like limited to one genre where someone maybe exhausts a genre or goes through a different phase, and then they don't listen to your band again because they saw you as that kind of era of their life. Well, if you're constantly mixing up and surprising people, I think you get those fans who are like into you as an artist rather than just sort of a passive listener. So a couple of reasons there. I'm not sure which one is the is the main one.
All amazing.
Yeah, who are those artists that inspire you the most?
Good question. I mean, I think any artist, from a who comes from a place where they maybe they lull you in and take you to a different place sonically, whether that's with a song or through an album. Those are the sort of people I tend to gravitate towards.
Nice.
So like, I mean, it's annoying he's just turned into an absolute like maniac. But Kanye West is probably one of my favorite artists.
Yeah. I mean, fair choice. Yeah, fair choice.
you know, and he's someone who has just grown and challenged himself throughout the years, and you know, there's threads that bring it back and make you feel like you're listening to a comedy record, but at the same time, you know, from album to album, he's, you know, brought in completely different, you know, styles and sonics, and you know, he's really like been on this journey creatively throughout the albums, and I'll just never forget. Like, I just loved. I think, you know, obviously, College Dropout was such a formative rap record,
ahead of its time.
And then My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is probably, you know, one of my favorite records of all time. And then when Yeezus came out, it was just like, whoa, he's just like, again, just completely ripped up the rule book and is doing something so just out there and fresh and like, you know, aggressive, you know, compared to he can put out some proper hard tunes, but also write some pop bangers. And I just really appreciate, you know, all artists that can sort of try their hand at both and succeed. So yeah, anyone that does that really like has my sort of admiration, because it is definitely like the harder route, I think. So when that works out and they're still putting out great songs as well as challenging themselves sonically, that's like the dream combo for me.
100%. Love that.
If your music were a colour or an animal, what do you think would best describe your music?
Well, currently I'm going through this big orange phase.
Okay.
So I wouldn't, that's a really tough question because I kind of feel like, you know, there's so many colours to choose from, and part of you know, music and you know, crafting something that like, you know, is kind of changing and has variation within it. You want to use all the colours to sort of, you know, paint with. But I'm going through a big orange phase at the minute, which I kind of you know, brought into orange and green, to be honest, which I brought into the album cover, and then ended up doing everything orange and green, which got a bit too much. So we kind of put out, but yeah, I just love orange because it's so bold and, you know, quite, I guess, like, you know, loud and aggressive in the same way. But red feels kind of a bit overdone. Like, everything just seems red. And you don't see as much orange. So it's a little bit weirder. It's a little bit more fun. It's a little bit fruitier, I guess. So, and it just feels, I don't know, I'm just constantly, any like item of clothing I ever see in a shop that has orange, I instantly buy it. So I'm just not out that phase yet. I feel like a little kid again. Like, pick a favourite colour and that's what you wear.
It's a great colour. It's a brilliant colour.
It is a good colour. So yeah, I'd probably say that currently, because that's the vibe we were feeling for this record. Animal, wow, that's a tough one. Maybe like a polar bear.
Okay.
Oh, amazing. That's a brilliant answer.
Just like, you know, a beast of an animal, you know, still pretty kind of rare, so you don't see them too much. But like would be a wicked pet as well.
Yeah, scary but majestic.
Scary, yeah.
And people still
Have you
find
guys,
fluffy.
did you read have you ever read or did you see like his Dark Materials on TV?
Yeah, it's really good.
Like when I first read that, and like she, you know, befriended this polar bear who was kind of like, wasn't her pet, obviously he's his own character in his own right. I was like, that would be the sickest thing. An armored polar bear just being your mate that can just
do whatever,
do some gnarly stuff.
Brilliant. Amazing. Now I'm gonna briefly touch on your new single now, Birthday Party, which, you know, I loved it because it's a classic harrowing tale of if you threw a party and no one came, and it's kind of satirical and a little bit fun, a little bit quirky, which I would associate with you guys because I know you all love, you know, you love not taking yourself too seriously. I was wondering, is the song based on a true story? If so, what is that story? And if not, what was the reasoning behind the lyrics?
It was almost a combination of stories, and almost like that feeling, it was more a feeling, I'd say. Like, we came up with the hook just out of nowhere. It was one of those things that just sort of, you know, somehow comes to you. I think Matt originated it, and I was like, I've been to all your birthdays and people showed up. So I don't know where that came from. But I've been to a number of birthday parties where I've never been to one where 0 people have shown up. But I have been to some where they were kind of not well attended, and I've seen the effort people put into them, and there's this sadness to that. There's something so sad about being sad on your birthday. Like, it's just, I don't know. Well, I know what it is. It's like from being like a young kid, you know, you're told your birthday is this special day. It's all about you, and it should be amazing. And it can be anything. It can be just like the naffest thing that like puts your day off, and then you're like, fuck's sake, you know, this is my birthday. Everything should be going my way today. This is rubbish. And I've had days like that. You know, I've definitely had days where we've either been on tour and for whatever reason haven't having a good day. I think there was one time like we were in Vegas and I was like, sick, birthday in Vegas. And I woke up and like we were parked like miles away from the venue because we were playing in some casino. And I couldn't find I got lost basically, and I was literally, this was it. I met all the guys at Denny's for some, which is, I don't know if you've been to Denny's, it's like, you know, like a kind of diner. But like, I was like, okay, I'm up late. I had a lie-in, met all these guys for Denny's, and pretty much as I got there, they'd all finished their food and had to go to soundcheck. So I had my breakfast birthday like by myself, and it was just miserable.
That's a nightmare.
Normally that would be fine. Like, I'm quite like happy to, you know, in my own company, like go for a meal or whatever. But I think because I thought I was like meeting the guys for, this will be fun. So it just made it so much worse. Plus a combination of then I couldn't find the venue, and I was just traipsing around like this underground series of like tunnels and chambers below Vegas to find this venue. And yeah, I remember it really upset me way more than it should do because it was my birthday. So it's that feeling combined with, I did throw like a last minute birthday once where literally like I never normally do stuff on my birthday, and it was like 2 days before I was like, screw it, it's like a Saturday night, it's my birthday, I'm gonna invite everyone. And it was like, you know, a lot of people just couldn't make it, and I was like, why did I put all this effort into? You know, it's one of those things where you're like, this is why I don't do birthdays.
Yeah,
you know?
I get you.
And
100%.
To be fair, I'd only tried to I was pretty low key. I'd only pulled it together a few days before.
Yeah.
So I couldn't have been that mad, but it hit me hard. And then the other like thing I was drawing from was, someone like threw a surprise birthday for me once. The initial surprise was amazing, and like I was just pretty shocked and stoked, and it worked. I had no idea it was coming. But then once I was into it, you know, you're then sort of like, wow, look who's here, you're saying hi. And then I'm like, I don't know, like my brain just starts thinking, well, why isn't this person here? Like, where's this person's my best, like some of my best friends, why aren't they here? And then you get disappointed that it isn't as incredible as maybe you thought, you know, it would have been in those few seconds when you realised it was as a birthday. So there's something weird about birthdays, basically, that makes them so worse. So that combined with the nature of, I know people have thrown birthdays where people don't show up. I'd like to think there's not too many examples where literally zero people come. But yeah, in those moments, there's like, you either like just, you know, get super depressed, or you just like, right, I'm just going to go nuts and try and enjoy this myself and lose my mind. So that was the kind of, the thought process with the song is at least make the best of it and have a nuts time yourself.
Amazing. Yeah. I get you fully. It's all that pressure on a birthday. It comes once a year. You want it to be perfect. I understand.
Yeah, I think that's something everybody can really relate to.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's kind of, for me, it's like, again, it's like a bit of a fun, it's a bit of, a different thing to write about. When it's probably something I never would have thought I'm going to write a song about this, but that's, I think the best thing about, being, for me, like being in a band with 3 other guys that all come up with ideas, and Matt, our drummer especially, he just comes up with the most random, lyrics. He'll kind of just come up with a line that's come from nowhere. I'm like, where did this come from? How do you think of it? And he doesn't know. And it's fun stuff, and it's really great to bounce off, because you can write songs that are just like so serious and so heavy all the time. So to write something about something as frivolous as like being sad at your birthday, I thought it was quite fun.
Nice.
What's your go-to birthday cake flavour, if you pick one?
I love all cake. I think you can't mess with a Colin. Like, the caterpillar.
100%.
There's just something so, just like, again, just so
iconically British.
Kind of like iconic and just like just such a shit but good like British birthday cake.
Yeah, you know exactly what you're getting with the Colin the caterpillar.
Yeah, it's just, and they're fun. But I mean, if I'm going for like I'm a big like chocolate fiend, so I'd say like maybe like a chocolate and buttercream, maybe a salted caramel, a bit of salted caramel throw there. That would be probably my dream setup. So yeah, maybe a bit of peanut butter in there too, if that's too crazy. So yeah, chocolate, peanut butter, salted caramel, big buttercream ganache on the top. That would do me.
Amazing. Now, I wanted to talk a bit about your formation as a band. I know that you've been playing gigs ever since you were at school, but you formed, I believe, when you started studying at Nottingham University. And so I was wondering if the thriving Nottingham music scene, because there's a great music scene in Nottingham, if that helped you all rise to fame, and if you drew any inspirations from your surroundings.
I'd say yes and no. Like, it was quite lucky that like three of the bands all went to Nottingham, and then Simon, our guitarist, went to Norwich. So we got to like, it's slightly easier to like, have a few band practices, because at least we weren't all spread around the country. And the Nottingham scene was great. I sort of, like first week sort of turn up, like fresh as fair, and go around the student union, signed up to like the Rock Music Society, the band sock as well, and signed up to all these things. But then without having like the band actually all being there, and probably as well having a band already and not really being bothered to like form a new band, it probably didn't mean I was like as invested as I could have been in like the local, I guess, the local music scene. There was so much that uni had to offer, and we probably more just dipped our toe into it rather than fully immersing ourselves in it, down to the fact that like one of us was in Norwich. But it definitely kind of opened my ears, I guess, my eyes and ears to like how great so many other like kind of offshoot genres were of music. Because back in Bedford, we were kind of very much within a metal rock kind of emo alternative scene. That was the main thing that kind of we grew up with. We had a couple of bands as well that we do gig swaps with, and that kind of was the focus. Like the main like website in our town that sort of hosted all the shows, like whatever genre it was called Bedford Metal, because the guy that ran the website love metal music. So that kind of the heavier side of things was a focus. And I think going to uni and playing bandstock shows, for example, with so many like more genres and more eclectic bills definitely helped us, I think, probably subconsciously like spread our wings a little more and like you know, reminded us that, you know, we're not a bunch of dudes who solely listens to metal. You know, we listen to so much within rock music, within, you know, also like guitar music, but also, you know, electronic and soul and hip hop and so much stuff. It's like, you know, we shouldn't be limiting ourselves to one genre, whether it's, you know, within a song, with an album. So yeah, we played some shows with some insanely good bands, and it's really weird how, you know, when I think back to like the bands we played with, how good they were, and like it's such a weird thing when you see how some bands, you know, kind of make it and continue, and some bands kind of fizzle out and don't. And it's, you know, it's a real shame that a lot more bands don't, you know, give things a go when they finish uni, because, you know, it can just be one or two like strokes of luck that can, you know, transform your career and give you that push and enable you to do it, you know, for a living. Because we were by far like, you know, okay, I'm not necessarily one of the worst bands, but like there were some really incredible bands at our university who, you know, they were just so good, considering, you know, how early, you know, how young you are in the span of like a musical career. You know, when you're thinking like there are some bands that like go for, you know, 30, 40, 50 years, you know, and most of these bands had only, you know, formed for a couple of months or a year, and you think how good they are then. It's a real shame when those bands decide to call it a day. So yeah, I think we probably always would have ended up kind of, you know, borrowing ideas from all sorts of kind of, you know, bands and musical walks of life, but definitely playing with like an eclectic group of musicians within the uni world definitely kind of helps, I think, our formative years for sure.
If you weren't a musician, what do you think you would have done instead?
That's really hard to know. I've literally got no idea. Like, one of like the only like serious like job interview I kind of went for was I don't know if they still do it. Was for like Teach First.
Okay.
Do they still do Teach First?
I don't know.
I've definitely heard of it before. I think.
So yeah, and I probably shot myself in the foot by like telling them like I wanted to be a musician, and that was my main thing. Yeah, it was. I mean, it's a really good like setup. So if they still do it now, it's, you know, it's definitely something to look into if you're kind of like me and didn't really know what they wanted to do. You know, because you know, I did theology at university, and that was, you know, purely because I kind of found it interesting at school, and like philosophy and history and religion, and kind of didn't know what I wanted to do, so just picked that because I got some good A levels in it, and like that was literally, you know, I had no idea like what job I wanted to do, and Teach First was something where you then basically end up teaching at schools that are kind of developing and need a bit of extra help, and you get, I think, a year or two experience in that, and you're sponsored by like some, you know, really decent companies end up sponsoring that, and I think you do some placements with them, like in the sort of, I think they have a lot of kind of strands, but it can be sort of, you know, management consultancy and banks and things like that. So you kind of get hooked up. You do like a year sort of graph teaching and sort of hone your skills, and then you do something else like that. But the thing I would have done after that I would have had no idea what that would have been. I kind of went for that because I'd done some part-time teaching at like a local primary school, which was kind of super rewarding and quite fun, but I kind of only did that because it meant I finished work at like 3, so I could like drive to the kids that we needed to get to. So yeah, when it comes to actually like choosing a career that is not music, I wouldn't even know where to start. Something you think about as like a kid, you think, oh, that would be cool. But yeah, it's nice to think like you just put enough work into it and put yourself in the a place to get opportunities and get a bit of luck, and you can do that. So yeah, I would recommend anyone, like, if you think you've got a dream, because not everyone does have a dream, and it's almost hard to work that out. But if you do, and you're lucky enough to have a dream, you've got to just go for it, and at least give it like a couple of years until you're bored of the dream. And then move on.
Very inspirational words.
Words
I like that,
words to live by. Now, I wanted to touch on your band name. So, from the earlier days, you were called Don Loco, but you changed it to Don Broco because one of your bandmates broke his wrist. And so I was wondering if you remembered what happened and how that led to you changing the band name.
We were never actually called Don Broco. We didn't have... So our original name was Club Sex. That was our first... That was our name while we were at university. But it was only like after that we're like, okay, we think we should change our name, because it kind of... Club Sex only kind of works if you're, I think, playing like super hype music, super like sexy sort of,
dance
like
music.
vibey music, dance music. Like if you're doing anything that we kind of realized that it just didn't feel right. If you're putting any songs out that like even have just a bit of like emotion to them, it kind of just feels wrong. So we basically like tried to think of a new name. We had a show booked already, and the guy knew we weren't going by Club Sex, so he was like pestering us for like, what do we put on the poster? So that was like the thing that was forcing us to come up with a new name. I can't remember where we found Don Loco. I think we liked the word Don because it was a thing like back in Bedford, just amongst our mates, we used to call each other like the Don if you were like a legend. Just like a mafioso Don. It was just one of those words we just used for like a couple of months. And, you suddenly start using it all the time. And I can't remember we found Loco, but it just sounded good. But there was a German rapper who already had the name after we like Googled it. And we were like, oh, it's kind of weird because Loco's crazy in Spanish, so that would be Mr. Crazy. And like as a translation, I was like, well, we wouldn't call ourselves Mr. Crazy, so that's, I don't know, that wrote it off for us. Then we were playing five-a-side football, and one of our mates like ruthlessly like slide tackled Simon from behind. He fell over, broke his wrist, and we had to like pull out of this show that was going to be like our debut show with the new name. But off the back of that, I think a lot of the things in our band, when things go wrong, things don't work out, that's always, I always try and find like a silver lining. So I think the combination of the disappointment of putting out the show and him breaking his wrist, one day at work, we were working at a call centre at the time, and like he came in with his cast, and I was like, oh, it's Don Broco. And I think like, despite that being like, I don't know if it was a joke or if I was just literally like saying what you were thinking, which I tend to do sometimes, just sometimes gets you into trouble. Literally every thought that enters your mind, I just say. But like we were like, oh, okay, like at least we can stop thinking about a name, because we've been sort of umming and ahhing for like, felt like months, and it just it gets to a point where you're just bored of trying to think of something, and you just want to sort of get on with your life and get on with everything else that it takes to being in a band. It's not just about the name. It's about, actually writing some songs and booking some shows and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very much like, let's just settle on a name that has at least some, meaning to us, and it's a silver lining of us having to like not do shows for a while because of the broken wrist.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of just stuck from there. And I think it's a blessing as well as a curse. Like, people are like, oh, that's different, and hopefully they remember it, but at the same time, like, no one knows how to pronounce it, no one knows how to say it.
Mm-hmm.
You constantly get like people adding like an N into it, Don Broco. Especially in America as well, everyone calls us Don Broco. So like, there's pluses and minuses to it for sure.
I hope I was saying it right. Don Broco. Don Broco
is how we say it.
Broco, brilliant. Don Broco, perfect.
Just to finish off, do you have any like pre-show rituals you like to do before you go on stage?
I wouldn't say it's like a ritual now, but we used to be, we used to kind of literally not do anything, and it could be quite like weird because you're like, you're on your phone, you've gone for food, you're like trying to, we try and like explore the cities we're in, the towns we're in when we're on tour. And before you know it, like, it's time to play, and you'd be like completely not in the zone, and then just literally walk on stage and go from like 0 to 100. So we've tried like the last few years to have like this power hour before we play, where we'll just make like, if Tom's in the zone, he's really good at making like cocktails from just random stuff.
Oh, nice.
I don't know how he does it. He will just find random ingredients and make a cocktail. But like, just one drink that has become our sort of drink of choice is, which our keyboard player Pete claims to have invented, is the Tectonic, which is tequila, tonic, and lime. Just 3 ingredients.
Ooh. Tequila, tonic, lime. Is that like a tequila-based margarita kind of thing?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it's basically just a gin and tonic, but
it sounds good anyway.
And it's got a cool name because you call it Tectonic, and it just sounds, sounds badass. But yeah, that's become like our tour drink of choice because, I don't know, you can just drink so many beers and get so like full before you play. I just don't know how people like guts can handle that. So we'll have like a power hour where we'll just drink a load of Tectonics, get the tunes on, like, just get kind of hyped up. You normally put on some Papa Roach and get in the zone. Nice. And that's our go-to sort of warm-up now. It's like, again, you don't always get that full hour, but I think it's really important, like, sort of getting as hyped up as possible before you go on, because it is always weird when you're walking onto a stage completely
sober.
Sober as well doesn't always happen. I don't like to be wasted, but I like to just just have just that little bit of a buzz, so it's not like a whole walking on. It doesn't feel like you're walking onto like a different. Walking to like a different dimension. You need to be sort of at that level a little bit already. So that's definitely been, I guess, a thing that I'm sure, most bands probably did that as standard anyway. But it's only in the last like year or so that we've realised like how important that is to, to start the show off feeling super hyped as well.
Amazing. Awesome. And with that, we've reached the end of our interview. So, Rob, thank you so much for speaking to us. We cannot wait to see your show.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Hope to see you there.
Yeah, so I'll see you in Brighton.
Yeah. See you in Brighton.
Wicked. Nice one, guys. Cheers.
And that's us signing off. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.